Thanks for joining us on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. We start in Kenya, where the government has said it will not recognize next week's expected ruling by the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, on the maritime border dispute with Somalia. In a statement, Kenya's Foreign Affairs Ministry said the judgment will be the culmination of a flawed judicial process that was biased. The ICJ is set to deliver its judgment on the sea dispute off the coast of Kenya and Somalia next Tuesday. The two countries are both claiming a 160,000 square kilometer triangle in the Indian Ocean, thought to be rich in oil and gas. Ahead of the judgment, the BBC's Ferdinand Omondi explains the diplomatic and security implications of the dispute.
The waters look calm, but a stormy dispute between Kenya and Somalia has been running for 4 decades. This is how Kenya's border currently runs into the Indian Ocean and how it wants it to stay. Kenya first established this maritime boundary by presidential proclamation in 1979. And this is how Somalia thinks that border should be. In 2009, the two countries signed a memorandum of understanding certified by the United Nations to negotiate their boundaries. In 2014, Somalia decided to settle the matter at the International Court of Justice at The Hague. In its application, Somalia said diplomatic negotiations have failed, and it was now asking the court to determine the precise geographical coordinates of the single maritime boundary in the Indian Ocean. But that is not all. Somalia also wants the ICJ to declare that Kenya has violated its international obligations to respect the sovereignty and sovereign rights and jurisdiction of Somalia and is responsible under international law to make full reparation to Somalia. A year later, Kenya filed an objection to the court case, arguing that the memorandum of understanding was binding. Kenya would also question the jurisdiction and fairness of the courts and seek postponements because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The court eventually rejected those arguments and ordered a hearing this year. Earlier this year, Kenya decided to pull out of the case, citing procedural unfairness and questioning whether justice would be done. Nevertheless, the judgment is set to go ahead.
I don't think Kenya will accept to cede that territory if ICJ rules for Somalia, because all along Kenya has been having that territory. Number two, the court did not give Kenya that territory.
Today, Kenya gave its strongest indication yet that it has no intentions to respect an unfavorable judgment. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs claimed the delivery of the judgment will be the culmination of a flawed judicial process that Kenya has had reservations with and withdrawn from on account not just of its obvious and inherent bias, but also of its unsuitability to resolve the dispute at hand. Somalia is hoping for a judgment in its favor, but Fauzia Yusuf, who was foreign minister when the case was filed, says the door would still be open for negotiations.
Almost 1/3 of Kenya is Somali-speaking territory. Somalia's investment are mainly in Kenya, Nairobi, Mombasa, everywhere. It's a country, these two countries need each other. There's no a need for conflict.
A ruling in favor of Somalia would also have far-reaching impact on territories beyond Kenya and Somalia. A line that runs downwards would mean Kenya's other border to the south could cut through the northern island of Pemba, which is now Tanzania territory. But analysts sense an even greater threat.
There is a danger that big powers might come there at the invitation of any of these two countries, Kenya or Somalia. And that can, in a geopolitical sense, can cause a lot of tension, instability.
During this period, Kenya and Somalia have cut and restored diplomatic relations, suspended and resumed international flights, and expelled and re-invited each other's ambassadors. Tuesday's judgment is not the end, but the beginning of another diplomatic episode. Ferdinand Omondi, BBC News,